So we will get started with the second presentation about Swiss German Sign Language this time. So we'll be talking about a standard setting for Swiss German Sign Language receptive skills test, targeting levels A1 and A2. What you see here, all the names are all the people who were involved in the research projects. They're both deaf and hearing colleagues who could not make it today, not all of them. Great to have Olaf here. So the university, just a few words. University of Teacher Education and Special Needs, where I work. We are training sign language interpreters, sign language teachers, and deaf translators and special education teachers serving deaf children. So just to get the framework, that we have a long history in training and research regarding sign language education, and sign language assessment. All right. That's what we are going to talk about. So, just a little bit about the background of the project. The QR code leads you to the website at the University of Zurich. It's a project, a really huge project, which was part of the Innosuisse flagship Inclusive Information and Communication Technologies. Innosuisse, I don't know if you have that in other countries, is, let's say, the opposite of a pure research funding. It's basically translating research results into products or services, which is actually a quite challenging process, as I could learn. And this was we were just part of this project, so the sub-project called Sign Language Assessment. And the overall goal was, together with the Swiss Federation of the Deaf, who are hosting a sign language self-learning platform for all 3 Swiss sign languages, to implement learning and assessment opportunities. So we are just talking about one piece of this project about adaptive receptive skills test. So sign languages are minority languages, are rarely taught, and we are talking now about the Swiss German Sign Languages, Swiss German Sign Language, or for short DSGS. There are, especially at the higher CEFR levels, very few training opportunities. Just letting you know, for example, in our interpreter training, which is a bachelor's program, we are not there yet, but we think that people graduate somewhere between B1, high B1, B2, maybe, we don't know yet, but we are in the process to align the curriculum, so the resources are very welcome. And the self-learning platform from the Swiss Federation of the Deaf, it's called signwise.ch, as you could see here. And it provides self-learning courses level A1 and A2 in all 3 Swiss sign languages. And yeah, that's what we are going to talk about. We're talking about the development of the adaptive receptive skills test and focusing here on the standard setting of this test. So we created test specifications for the development of the items. I will quickly show you them in the next slide. The items were developed by a team of deaf sign language teachers, deaf lecturers from our university, in cooperation with the Swiss Federation of the Deaf. And we had to match those items, obviously, with the content of this self-learning platform Signwise. So, for example, there were short-signed discourses where we had a question in sign language, and then we had 3 written answers in German. But we will see a screenshot later on. So this might be a little bit small, and just to tell you what it should illustrate is on the upper part is a very long Excel sheet indicating the different items and also how it was matched, aligned with the CEFR descriptors from our test specification. So basically, I'm trying to see which items is linked to which descriptor at this stage. So that's just a screenshot indicating links on the left side. You have a short signed utterance. Then you have a question related to it, and then you have 3 responses. You might wonder, why is it in German, not in Swiss German Sign Language? You basically would give the answer away, having this one in Swiss German Sign Language. But we can discuss that later, because I see some irritations here. No? Okay. Okay, well, why there's only 3 instead of 4, I guess we have some research around suggesting 3 are fine. So, all right. And then I hand over to Olaf.
Yeah, standard setting. Why do you do a standard setting? If you have a language test which claims to focus on a specific CEFR level, you have to show that the test is really a CEFR test, and that is done by performing various activities related to a standard setting. In addition, the main idea is to determine the individual difficulty of test items, at the same time determining the cut scores for the whole test. Since we had gathered a number of experts, we also wanted to use their competence and asked them for additional feedback regarding the individual items. The standard setting is defined as determining cut scores for an individual item or a whole test, and we thoroughly followed the procedures as outlined in the manual for relating language examinations to the Common European Framework of Reference. This is kind of universal reference book if you want to do a standard setting. The manual suggests a number of methods which can be used to do the standard setting. We used a very simple one, a very robust one, the Modified Angoff Method. The idea behind the Angoff Method is you imagine a minimally competent person at a specific level, say A1, and you ask, would this minimally competent person be able to answer a specific item? And then if you have a number of items, let's say 30, you just count the number of items a minimally competent person would be able to answer. And that's the cut score, that's the bottom performance which you want to see. That is what we did. And we had 7 experts which took part in a 3-day workshop. It's a very cumbersome activity to perform such a standard setting. And the Alta colleagues probably are a little bit suspicious why we only used 7 experts. The reason is it was really hard to find 7 experts in Swiss Sign Language with an academic background. So we would have loved to have more, but we are quite proud that we found those 7 people. And I think it was really groundbreaking. I think we were the first ones to perform a standard setting for at least Swiss Sign Language. There will be another presentation afterwards, which I highly recommend, which also performed a standard setting, but I think 2 or 3 months later. 1 month, okay. It's the silver medal. Just kidding. Yes, it doesn't move on. Yeah. This is just a screenshot of the electronic platform we used, Lime survey. And the first item just asks, would the minimally competent person be able to answer the item correctly? And then we had a field where the experts could indicate anything they wanted, which was very helpful to get qualitative feedback on individual items. And we had some more questions related to this specific task, to this specific item. I will tell you a bit more up in some later slides. As for the results, our experts said for the A1 level, 60 minimally competent person would answer 63% of the items correctly. So that's the bottom performance. Roughly 2/3 of the items must be answered correctly in order to get an A1 rating. For the A2 level, 77%. I think that's quite plausible as a cut score for a test, 2/3 of the items. We also asked the experts how confident they were with their ratings, and it's 95%, which is quite high, so they were quite indicative for a reliable performance. And we also asked them how easy they thought it was to judge on that item. And again, we have quite high numbers, which is an indicator for the quality of their ratings. Here I'm talking about the validation items, and we asked the experts about their agreement on various statements. The first one, the content of the item is meaningful and matches the test taker's everyday communication. Again, we have high numbers, so this would be an indicator for content validity or for construct validity. In this case, even though in 10% of the cases may be some need of improvement. Agreement was a little bit less. For the second validation items, all test takers can potentially answer the item. And this was very valuable for us to identify items which probably don't work properly. And we combined this information with the information from the qualitative feedback in order to know where is the potential for improvement. Then we got a little bit more into detail and asked the correct answer is unambiguously correct and meaningful. Numbers are quite high again here. 3 more questions. Distractors are unambiguously incorrect yet meaningful. As you can see there, agreement is lower. So we have some problems with the wrong answers here, so need for improvement. And then the test item is not too demanding for test takers, for instance, not too long or too much, or having the need to use too much finger alphabet. Again here, need for improvement. Last validation item is the test items relates to the test taker's receptive competence and not for instance, for mathematical skills or memory capacity. Again, a question relating to the construct validity. And it's nice to see here that we have quite high agreement. So overall, the standard setting procedures really gave us very detailed insights in how the individual test items work. It also provided support for our claim that it is really a test related to the Common European Framework of Reference, even though, of course, this is a process which never ends. And I think with all the room for improvement here, it's good to see how it will go on. And Tobias will give us a short outlook on what is what we're going to continue, and yeah, maybe also what we can do in the future.
All right. The project I was talking about finishes actually next week. No, the week after, so end of April. So basically what we did after the standard setting, we conducted a few more studies. If you want to learn about them, come to the ALTA conference in Siena as a teaser. So currently the test has been integrated into the signwise platform. We conducted also user studies, which shows an overall positive picture of using the test. It's right now the idea is to use it as a placement kind of test, basically for people, for example, who took a Swiss German sign language course in person somewhere at a sign language school, and they want to switch to signwise, so they can kind of like get an idea. Okay, I'd rather go for A1 or buy A1 or buy A2 to take the online course. Yes, and just it's as I was saying, it's an adaptive test. So the signwise runs on Moodle. So we used one of the publicly as an open access algorithm that's available. The only pity is that it's not a self-learning plugin. So basically, the test is not, or the algorithm is not going to improve. But there are at least we can do further studies to improve it. So what are the lessons learned? Yeah, well, there's overall a general positive feedback. There was a positive feedback from the sign language experts. They were all trained deaf sign language teachers for the standard setting. We recognized that the familiarization part with the CEFR was very important. And it took more time, and Olaf and Sabine, his colleague, gave a lot of time and space to actually give enough time for the familiarization. And even so, sign language teacher training across Europe are very diverse. They are in different places in the educational systems. In Switzerland, it's part of the vocational training. And the CEFR is part of the curriculum. But to the best of my knowledge is that our university, it's just very little. So it's definitely not, from my perspective at least, not enough. So it's not really part of, let's call it, professional identity or professional DNA that people are like, CEFR, sure, that's people at DiMA definitely, but I think there's also a lot of people, we can tell, I just can tell because we have research projects going on and we involving assessment, and we always have to plan in training on CEFR, on assessment, which should be, yeah. Well, that's something for the future, right? So then we would like to acknowledge the funding. Innosuisse, that's a Swiss innovation agency, and also would like a special thanks to the deaf sign language experts and to the hearing learners. They took part in all those different studies we did. I can't even tell you, I think 4 or 5 different studies. So this was just one. And the implementation partner, the Swiss Federation of the Deaf. Yeah, and when you have any questions, here's my email address, or approach us personally. Thanks.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, 2 questions, actually, 2 quick questions, hopefully. So firstly, you were talking a lot about validating the test items themselves through expert judgment, which is fine. Were you also able to do any sort of pre-testing or trialing with mock candidates as well? And then my second sort of broader question is actually to what on a completely different subject, to what extent, if any, do you collaborate with DiMA at all? And do you want to just speak a little bit about that?
Yes, we do, sure. Let me answer to the second question. Yes, we have regular meetings. The last one was scheduled on Wednesday. Will be in 2 weeks. Now we meet once a month, actually. And we also try to collaborate on the LTQ mark thing, which, yeah, it's coming along, but it takes some time. We have different target groups, so.
Yeah, we were using the whole psychometric apparatus, so the items were pre-tested. They are calibrated using IRT. So we can also use this standard setting. We know the cut scores, we know the item which is closest to this cut score, we know the IRT value of this item, and we can use it for further test calibrations in order to create parallel test versions. Even though we have to say we don't see the numbers we would like to see in general language tests, because it's so difficult to find enough people
to do
who
IRT with, I guess, a smaller number of candidates.
You can do IRT with small numbers. The only issue is the measurement errors. So you have to be aware of that, and because of that, it was very valuable to have this additional perspective from the experts. So it's kind of multi-perspective approach to validation with all those caveats, small numbers, and a group which is more or less relatively new, acquainted with the CEFR.
Well done. Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you. Great presentation, great project. I was wondering, it's a very long way to develop a test, and I was wondering, one thing is the test purpose. I didn't really get which one you claim it is. And how long did it take to get to the standard setting since the beginning of the project?
The standard setting was about a year ago, so January last year, about 2 years. So the entire project was 4 years, so it took, yeah, about 2 years, I would say. And the thing was also, you know, there's this signwise learning platform existed already, and then we came in, should develop a placement test. So we kind of needed to think to find each other how we can develop a test, a placement test, multiple choice, a receptive skills test, related to this platform. This was quite a challenge. Just totally on a different note, we also realized there's a really lack of in practitioners hearing deaf teachers or sign language teachers on sign language assessment literacy, and we just applied for funds for the Erasmus Plus project, so hopefully we will get it, to develop an online training materials related to sign language assessment. Sign language assessment literacy involving partners from University of USCula, actually, in case we get the funding, Germany and the Netherlands. So hopefully.